will send them Patriots, which they desperately need, because Putin really surprised a lot of people. He talks nice and then he bombs everybody in the evening. So there's a little bit of a problem there, and I don't like it.
No one can be surprised what the Russians are saying and what the Russians are doing unless they don't listen to what the Russians are saying and watch what the Russians are doing, because they have been incredibly consistent with it. You can not like it. You can detest it even, but you can't be surprised by it. And that means that Russia has said consistently, and apparently including on the July 3rd phone call that Trump is referring to there, about what Trump or President Putin is being nice about when he talks about it, which we reported on the day that that phone call was made, is that Putin is very professional. He's very diplomatic. And so he's saying very straightforward, but very honestly, we will take what we feel we need for our national security on our border by negotiations, or we will keep fighting until we seize it on the battlefield. And when Trump called him, and it just still puzzles me why he even made that phone call on July 3rd and asked again for an unconditional ceasefire. I don't know what prompted him to think that that was something that he could get. Maybe it's, as we've speculated, maybe he thought he listened to all of his aides say that his force of personality can compel people to do things against their own interest. And maybe he believed the hype. I don't know. Maybe he had something else. Maybe there's more information that we don't have that could have explained it. We don't have it yet, so we're only left to just speculate, but it's still puzzling why he actually thought that Putin would say, yeah, sure, we'll do what you want. So when he didn't, of course, and he did it politely, because that's the way, even diplomatically, with Sergei Lavrov. And we showed you here a few days ago, shaking hands with Marco Rubio at an ASEAN meeting. They're very diplomatic and very professional, but they're also very clear on what they believe and what they will require. And from a position of strength, they have the capacity to require it. So it doesn't matter how much we want something else to happen. If we don't have the means or the leverage to compel it, then we're not going to get the outcome we want. Now, that could be what's behind President Trump's comments now, and what may be coming out of his mouth here just shortly, is that he thinks I do have some leverage and I can compel compliance. And if they won't do it the, quote, easy way, then we're going to do it the hard way, which is going to be probably sanctions, seizing Russian assets, and increasing the amount of military aid to Ukraine. We're going to talk about each of those in turn here today. But, the one man who's the most thrilled about Trump's new confrontational look to Russia is Volodymyr Zelensky, who yesterday, in a meeting with General Keith Kellogg, actually it may have been this morning, made these comments.
Thank you, General, for participation first time.
Next to me was supposed to be.
We had very good conversation with General just now, and thank you, General, for coming. And thanks. We have often meetings with you and your team. Thanks to your team also for coming to Kiev. Thank you so much. We are thankful to President Trump for his all messages and very strong decisions about resuming delivers for us, and we are thankful for bipartisan support. And of course, we had very good conversations in Hague, and we had with President, and we had very good phone conversation. We made some decisions very positive for both countries, and just now we spoke about air defense with General.
So you see, he's really happy there. Just kind of an observation on this video here. We continue to see the same thing that we've seen throughout this war. I mean, this was a meeting between Kellogg and Zelensky. So obviously it's an important issue, certainly in Ukraine right now, coming on the heel or on the precipice of Trump's comments here. So it's perfectly ordinary and common and reasonable. But you see what the Ukraine side loves to do. They want everything to be dramatic. So they have the camera angles down here, and the camera is pivoting and do like you see in a movie. It's made like a movie scene, and it's intended to do that because that's supposed to project power and confidence and certainty, and things are going in our direction, etc. Instead of just having a news camera out there to record the event or talk about it, they have to always hype it up and the purpose is intended that way on purpose. And of course, it has a success because it's viewed that way, many of the West. So in terms of just pure propaganda and media manipulation, it's very effective, which is why they keep doing it, because it works. Problem is, it masks over what the actual reality is on the ground, because while he's having this great image that projects power in Kiev, a little bit further away on the front lines, both north, northeast, and east of his capital, things are not going well. And in fact, they're continuing to get worse. There's news out in the German media over the weekend that Russia is preparing a, quote, mega offensive for later this summer, literally within probably a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, at least according to the German press. More on that this afternoon. We'll get into a little bit more about what they're claiming there. But the bottom line is right now, that is what the Russians are looking at. And of course, even aside from what may come later, it's what is happening now. And as Gary's showing you here, these are just some of the most recent air attacks by the Russians against the Ukraine side, for which there's just insufficient air defense. And Russia has more than enough air assets, whether that's Guarantee drones, Kinzhal missiles, hypersonics, KH-101s, all kinds of different ordnance has been able to be fired, and a significant portion of it is getting through. Ukraine continues to claim every day, again, media manipulation, that they're intercepting the vast majority, 97% in what they claimed in the last round they shot down. These images seem to counter that. Or else Russia is just saying, yeah, you can shoot down 97, but we'll just shoot down, or we'll fire a bunch more so that we'll service multiple shots on each target, and you'll eventually not be able to take them all out, and we'll get all of our targets hit, which is what it appears to be the case. So it's not going good for the Ukraine side. Ergo, that's why they're happy about having air defense missiles. That's what Trump said at the Air Force One yesterday. That's what Keith Kellogg was talking to about earlier today, because he wants it. But let's be clear on something. This is not going to make a difference in the war. It's not going to make a difference in the air war, and it certainly won't make a difference on the ground where Russia continues to advance. Because no matter how many air defense missiles we have or we give them, it's not going to be enough, because Russia has accounted for this. And now then their production of their offensive air capacity is going to be enough to overwhelm anything that the Ukraine side and the United States and West writ large provide. So you need to be careful on the congratulations, because it's probably not going to go very far. It's not going to have any impact on the ground. It's going to brief well. It's going to make some money. Trump even said in that clip there that, this is about business. This is about selling stuff. So unfortunately, he's focused on the selling portion and the getting cash, but he's not focused on what that's going to do. And I actually want to address something one of our viewers just shared here. He said, Colonel, you give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Enough. Europe and the U.S. want war in order to take Russia's resources. Apparently, they'll succeed. Yeah, I don't think they're going to succeed. Honestly, I doubt very seriously that the West is going to succeed in this. They may want it. I've heard people say that. I can only conjecture. I know a lot of people come to that conclusion. I honestly don't think that's the case, that the West wants that. Maybe in some fantastical, boy, it would be great if we could get all Russia's stuff. But I don't think anyone with even people who are completely filled with greed and lust for that, I don't think that they believe that they have the capacity to actually get into Russia to take their resources, et cetera, because everybody knows that the second that it actually looks like the Russian ground forces, their conventional forces, could be defeated in Russia's territory, even be threatened, much less actually invaded, it's nuclear weapons time. And then it's game over for everybody. So that's why I don't think that that's the case. I know that that's talked about a lot. So I wanted to address that, because I know a lot of people think that. That's my view on it. Let's go on to what's next here. So I also mentioned that yesterday, Lindsey Graham and Senator Richard Blumenthal went on U.S. television to talk about what they think President Trump is going to say here any moment. I want to start off with Lindsey Graham talking about that he believes that this is about to reflect a turning point in the war, as he's time to bring out the economic sledgehammer.
A turning point regarding Russia invasion of Ukraine is coming. For months, President Trump has tried to entice Putin to the peace table. He's put tariffs against countries that allow fentanyl to come in our country, other bad behavior. He's left the door open regarding Russia. That door is about to close. Dick and I have got 85 co-sponsors of the United States Senate for congressional sanctions with a sledgehammer available to President Trump to go after Putin's economy and all those countries who prop up the Putin war machine. China, India, and Brazil buy oil and petroleum products and other goods from Russia. That's the money Putin uses is to prosecute the war. And this congressional package that we're looking at would give President Trump the ability to impose 500% tariff on any country that helps Russia and props up Putin's war machine.
Wow. So this to me is of the things that we're going to show today is maybe the most troubling and the most dangerous, because now then you're wanting to say, all right, we're not going to just try to do what Biden did and just double down on it, which a lot of people have been talking about. And that would be bad because it would be stupid, because Russia has basically made itself sanctions proof because it's able to withstand that. It's diversified its markets. It's gone away from the Western. It's created stuff to the global South and just basically everywhere else in the world except for the West. And they're doing pretty good. They're doing better than the European Union. They're doing better than the G7, actually, especially when you add in the BRICS for the Russian side. So new sanctions, they're probably just going to roll the eye. Now, what's different about this one is this is apparently intended to put pressure on other countries besides Russia to have an indirect effect on them. And specifically, he talked about China, India, and Brazil. Now, I don't think that it's really a good idea to start possibly turning India into an adversary. So India has been very clear from the very beginning of this, and it was vexing the Biden administration before this, is that they said, hey, y'all do whatever you're going to do. We're not going to participate in this. I'm doing business with Russia. I'm doing business with India. I'm doing business with you. We will continue to have trade deals. I mean, the Indian leaders already met with Trump, et cetera, even in this term. So on the one hand, you're like saying, okay, I want you to be our friend, but if you don't, we're bringing out a sledgehammer to crush your bones and maybe hit you in the face to compel it. And that is I think one of the worst, most pernicious things in the United States right now across the board. It doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, anything, any other kind of category, which we call the uniparty. Also more on that in a minute too. But what you see is we just have this, we've forgotten about diplomacy. We're forgetting about, using carrots to get some good things here. We only want to go with sticks. We put the carrots away completely, and now it's sticks and apparently sledgehammers. We want to compel and coerce everyone, to include our allies in Europe. Which is just astounding to me. On the one hand, you're talking about doing something that the Europeans want, actually, which is to go back in on their side, to go back kind of to what Biden was going to do and give Ukraine more weapons, put more sanctions on Russia, et cetera. At the same time, they're putting potentially a 30% tariff on the European Union, which has them up in arms and aggravated. And now that we're threatening on doing even more to India. So India's kind of been this player that's kind of independent in the middle, and that's worked. And that's just the reality of it. Well, now then we want to change the reality and say, no, India, you're going to be either compelled to do what we tell you to do, or here comes an economic sledgehammer. I just can't see that working. It's if you force India, a member of BRICS, to have to choose between BRICS and the United States, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed. But you see that Lindsey Graham keeps thinking, no, we have the military to do whatever the hell we want to do. We have the economic might because we are the world's biggest economy, that we can compel everyone, and we will use it. And I think he's been lusting after that. And apparently, at least it appears, that he's gotten President Trump to agree with him. For our sake, I hope that's not the case. I hope when Trump comes out and makes his comments here, I hope that that's not on the list, because if it is, and he uses it, apparently this part of the deal is that it's going to give him flexibility to be able to do some things, but not require him to, i.e. he could go up to this 500% tariff against China, India, and Brazil, but maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he doesn't have to. So he apparently is going to have that leverage. So maybe it's just a claim. I don't know. Don't think it's a good idea in any case, because it's very unlikely to compel anybody to do that. And if you do, you start messing with the global economy now, and especially when you get to China, which we're already in a trade war with. And now if you want to ramp that up as well, look, all of our actions up to this point, and I'm talking since 2022, and you can even go a little bit further back, have been especially pushing China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran into each other's laps. And now North Korea is apparently considering not just what they've been doing with giving lots of missiles and artillery shells to Russia, but now apparently there's up to 30,000 troops that they're getting ready to send over to help in a coming Russian offensive this summer. So we continue to push. And now you want to push China, because China has been kind of like, sort of like India, saying, I'm not going to take any sides here, to include Russia's side. And we've given some things around the edges, and we've given some technology to both Russia and Ukraine, by the way, not just to one side or another. They're just like, hey, we just want to do business. And so that's how it is right now. And there's almost certainly been some nefarious and covert kind of support from China. But I think that's just a given that it has. But it's been relatively low level. Russia has the majority of what it needs domestically, so it doesn't have to have that to be able to have its arms and production capacity, as we see. But you want to start levying a 500% tariff on China, then you may force them even closer to Russia, and maybe it's not so much covert in the future. That is one of the big dangers here, that this could escalate and that it could ramp up the pressures, not solve anything. The chances that China, Brazil, and India are going to be compelled to have crippling sanctions on Russia and prevent them, especially from selling oil and other petroleum products, that you're going to actually get them to turn against a member of BRICS and sabotage and sink it so that it loses, that's just insanity. They're not going to do that. If they're going to go in and see somebody lose and actually weigh in on something, it ain't going to be against Russia. It's going to be against us or the West. Don't put them in a position where they have to make a choice like that, because their answer may not be something you'd like.